Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with UK-based speaker, consultant, and facilitator Paul Teasdale. Paul has a history in engineering and took his first leap into the world of work as a repairer of aeroplane engine parts before deciding to make a move into sausage making. Through various roles, including consulting in food manufacturing, international shipping, dairy export, and business banking, he found himself working for McLaren, the Formula One team and superstar manufacturer. These days, he works independently, helping his clients bring an F1 performance mindset to their organization. Enjoy this interview. It's great to meet you, Paul. Thank you for taking a minute out. And before we get into your life, as just everything that you do, there's so many things that are a part of you. Before we get into that, where exactly are you located on the planet?
So I'm just in Woking, which is just outside of London, in the UK.
Okay, wonderful. So I was actually in London right after 9/11/2001. I was backpacking in Europe, and I had a flight from Paris back to Kansas City that didn't exist anymore. So I had to go through London and go to Gatwick. But I remember when we were there, everybody was enamored with the way I was talking. I was enamored with the way they talked. We threw a little booze in the middle of it, and everybody was happy.
Exactly. You can't go wrong there.
Yeah, it was good. So before we get into your busy life, I want to know, this past 3 years with COVID's been quite a thing, and it's played on us differently depending on where we are in the world. So I'm curious how you survived it now that the world's waking up more and more, and how it's changed the way that you live your life now.
It's had a huge amount of effect on me. I mean, I was furloughed during COVID, so I ended up being the main parenter and main teacher in our house to our two young kids. My wife is in learning and e-learning in particular, and her world blew apart because everybody wanted to take online courses at that point. So she was busy doing the whole 9 to 5 and lots more, and I was looking after the two kids and trying to educate them. So yeah, it was a very busy time. Off the back of that is when I moved from being an employee to going independent. So it's changed my life in a big way, but it did enable me to reach a wider audience from the fact that, the skills of facilitating online and working with people across the globe in a much more straightforward and user-friendly way, that's had a big effect on how I've got to where I am today, essentially. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but we're getting there. So
to get a better handle on what you do, I'm going to put you hypothetically in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day to grade school. One of the kids
Brilliant.
Looks up at you and says, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
So just so I can check it, third grade US, would that be about 8 or 9, that sort of age?
Yes.
Yep. Oh, fantastic. I mean, that's the age of my son, so hopefully I've got some practice with this. But I help people to take lessons from teams that work really well and help them understand how they can do that themselves. So generally, the main one that I use, the main stories that I tell are around Formula One racing, because I spent 7 years working with McLaren, who are a big Formula One team here in the UK. So that's what I do. I help people get better by taking lessons from people who are already doing some great stuff.
So when you were in the third grade, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I don't think I knew at that point. I'm not sure I know now. What I did know growing up was I didn't want to be a teacher. Both of my parents were teachers, and I knew that I didn't want to do teaching. That was the one thing that was clear in my head. I remember going through phases of wanting to be a lawyer, maybe a doctor, and then sort of went down the engineering route. So yeah, and then I've pretty much come full circle by being a teacher by proxy in a lot of ways, and doing online courses and training and all sorts. So that's all I knew at that point, is I didn't want to be a teacher because I saw that was what my parents were doing, and I didn't want any of that.
So who's been a hero for you in your life?
So many. I mean, all the way through, I think my mum has been a big hero to me, all the way through life and the struggles that we've had. My wife, particularly over the last couple of years, some big health impacts and how she has sort of moved forward through that and stayed positive and pushed on. And my sister as well, who's a police officer in New Zealand, and just the approach she takes to life. So I've got a lot of really strong, positive female role models that I've got a lot to be thankful for.
So if you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now and spend some time with them, who would it be?
Oof. I mean, there's a lot of great people who are getting their message across to a lot of folk. I think Simon Sinek would definitely be one of those who, just to get, how has he taken his approach and taken his research background and all the great work that he's done and just managed to connect with people. What's some of the things that really help to get his messages across? So I'd love to speak with him.
So every day you wake up, you're motivated to do all of these things that you do with your life. What's your motivator? What gets you through a day?
It's the aha moments with people. I had a chat with somebody, a coffee early on today, and it was purely a chat, a catch up, and I was able to just get them thinking about things in a slightly different way and realize that actually there's a different angle that I can approach this from. There's different options for moving forward, and that's what I really enjoy. I like bringing tools and techniques and thoughts and processes and people together so that people have those little aha moments and help them to move forward in a way they didn't think was possible beforehand.
So at the end of that proverbial day that you live, that you just described, how do you quantify a good day? How do you say that day worked for me?
Firstly, I've connected with people. I think any day where I've spent the day just head down in work and I've got a little windowless office here that I sit in front of my desk at times and do some really good productive work. And at the end of the day, I think that didn't feel good because I just didn't connect with anyone. So any successful day involves connecting with people one way or another. And if I can then say I made a difference in even the slightest possible way, that is a good day for me.
So, you've mentioned, your life in engineering and Formula One and education and speaking and all these very interesting realms. And I'm curious, out of everything that you've done, what are you the proudest of?
I think, there's so much that you can say about the family piece, and I'm going to take that as read. I think some of the proud stuff, certainly from a career perspective, is connecting dots that nobody else saw were there. I often tell a story about I tell how sausages changed banking, and that was about how I took my time being a sausage production manager and took the insights from that and applied them to business banking and changed the way that they thought and measured and managed their own internal processes. So it's just seeing those connections and seeing those angles that others don't. That's what I'm really proud of.
So, the other thing that's very good about our development, in our lives is the art that we get immersed with. What was it for you? Whether it was visual art, a book, an album, what art really moved you that you come back to every once in a while in life?
Music would be the main art for me. I do like movies in particular, but music is the evocative one for me. Good albums and good old school albums, depending on the mood. I love it. Queen, or is sort of great hits of Queen. That's one that always brings me back to childhood and growing up and some of the great holidays and parties we used to have. But Pink Floyd, The Wall as well. That's an epic that I can just sit down and immerse myself in. That's a great one for me.
So, if you have a dream tonight, you run into your 20-year-old version of yourself, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained in life, what would you tell that young version?
Wisdom. Be kind and be humble. That's the stuff that really matters. As you go through, don't try to be successful by stepping on others and doing things that negatively impact others as you go through. And don't assume anything about people until you really get to know them. I've made terrible assumptions along my way about what people know or don't know based on where they sit in an organization or how I've met them. And as soon as you start getting into conversations, you realize that A, people just want to help, and B, people are so clever in their own way and see things in different angles that you never would. So be kind to them and be humble in terms of what you know and what you think others may or may not know.
So everyone out there has a perception or an idea of you. There's different circles, family, friends, clients, colleagues, fans, but ultimately you live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm a connector. I bring people together. I'm able to identify what people are after and what would make them that little bit better and connect them with other great people that I know. So I spend a lot of time trying to meet more people in order to expand that network to help them and also to connect them with other people that I know. So that's what really drives me is that connector of people. And that I think is the essence of what I am and what I do.
What's been the best fan letter or client response you've ever gotten back?
That would be, I had a really emotional piece a while back when I was working in New Zealand, and just connecting with someone who we were talking about how do you make the senior executive team more effective and more efficient. And up to then, the whole conversation was, very practical. How do you make this meeting better? How do you make that process go more smoothly? And we just started switching the conversation around a little bit and was asking people, why is it that you want to be more effective with your time and your energy? And one guy just said, I'd love to spend one night a week where I can get home before my kids are in bed. And then that just, that connection with what was really important to him and then working towards and achieving that was, that, and the impact that had on his life and his life with the kids, that was just heartwarming, basically.
So, Paul, if anyone out there wants to learn more about you, get involved with any of your services, anything revolving around your world, where's the best place for them to go?
Get themselves over to my website, paulteasdale.co.uk. I'm active on LinkedIn and Instagram as well. But contact me there. One of the pieces first thing you'll see on my website is set up a one-to-one connection with me, and I'm always willing to have that no obligation chat, see if there's anything I can do to help people, any value I can bring. And if all we ever do is have a 30-minute chat, then that's all good with me.
I love it, Paul. Thank you for opening up. Thank you for letting us into your world for a little while. Good luck with everything, and I appreciate it, man.
Really appreciate it, Joe. Great chat.
Thank you. Cheers. Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, sport, music, and more from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. Find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.